are traveling past Hillcrest Elementary School right now, and we are heading west on Frederick Road towards Ellicott City. We just crossed Rolling Road, and we are now turning left onto Hilltop Road. We're now leaving the houses behind, and we are entering the Patapsco Forest. Parked here at the parking space right where the Hilltop Road takes a right-hand turn, and this is where we begin our journey to Face Rock. This little trail in the corner heading backwards towards Catonsville is where we begin. Power lines to your right, car to your back, and into the woods we go. So we are on the Buzzards Rock Trail, or at least a part of the Buzzards Rock Trail. And we are hiking to what I call Face Rock. And while we're hiking there, I'm going to tell you a legend of Face Rock. So a legend is a story that's made up. So it's not a real story, or at least it can't be proven to be real. And what I'm going to tell you is my own story that I invented because of this rock that we found out in the woods that looks like a face. So, my legend, my story, is about a boy who is named Anahu. And Anahu lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago when this whole area of Maryland, or much of it, was inhabited by a Native American tribe called the Piscataway. So Anahu is a Piscataway tribe member, and he's a boy of about 9 or 10 years old. And this is the legend of Face Rock. And we've come to a turn where we see a little parking area there that's for hunting, I believe, in the fall. Can't actually park there, it's locked. And we're turning onto a crushed stone path, which is much wider. And we're going to stay on this crushed stoned path. We're not going to go off to the left here. To the left, we see a trail called Sawmill Branch, and we're staying on the crushed stoned path. So one day, Anahu was fishing by the river in the valley below, the Great Patapsco River, with his dog, Tanaka. And he met another boy from a tribe that lived in a village about 5 or 6 miles down the river from his village. And he and his friend told stories and played with his dog and had a great time fishing by the river that day. Anahu would visit his friend by walking the 5 miles to his village every couple of weeks, every couple of days when he had the chance, always with his dog, Tanaka, with him. And a few months later, the snows began to fall, and it was a freezing cold winter. And many of the tribes and many of the villages didn't have enough food and were worried that they might not make it through the winter. So Nahu said to his parents, let me hike in the stormy winter night to my friend's village to make sure they have enough food, because we have extra right now. And his parents said, it's night, it's storming, I'm not sure it's safe to go make that trip. But Anahu said, I'll be all right. Let me go. I've done the trip many, many times. And even though he wasn't very old, he thought he could make it. And his parents said, all right, you can go, but take your dog with you. He'll keep you on the right path and make sure you get back okay. So off Anahu and Tanaka went, maybe on this very trail, to check on his friend in the village 5 miles away. And there's a deer off there in the distance, just like the kind that would have fed Anahu's family, just like the kind of food he might have been taking his friend in his friend's village on that stormy, wintry night. I don't know if you can see her over there, looking back at me. It was snowing much harder that night than Anahu thought it would be as he set out to get to his friend's village. And Tanaka was running off ahead, and then coming back and running off ahead and coming back. When all of a sudden, they heard a snapping sound off in the forest. Maybe a deer, just like the one we just saw. But Tanaka, the dog, raced off after the sound, maybe hoping to guide Anahu to the sound as a hunter, and off into the night. Tanaka slipped into the darkness, and Anahu was calling after him, but he didn't come back. It's a little hard to see at this time of year because of the trees that are all grown in. But down there is the Patapsco River, where the subject of our legend, Anahu, would have been fishing. Anahu stayed out all night searching and searching for his dog, calling out into the night as the winds howled and the snow got deeper and deeper around the trail. He walked back to his village the next day, completely sad that his beloved dog and companion was gone. For the next week and month, he went out every night calling into the forest the name of his dog to see if he could find him. Now here's the most important direction. Before the trail goes down really steep, you look to your left, and there's this trail going to the left. And if you look off in the forest, at least right now, at the end of May in 2020, there are still these little flag markers that we believe they set down to make this trail about a year ago. So look for these little flag markers, because you don't want to go down the old Buzzards Rock. You want to stay up here and take this left along the hillside where you see these reddish pink trail markers. And you'll know you're on the right trail because it's a little softer, not as rocky, it's newer. And the hill will be up to your left that you just walked across, and then it will go way down to your right, very steep. Keep your eyes on the trail and do not lose your footing here, because it's a long way down to the creek, which you can see and just hear through those trees. So months later, Anahu had just come out of his house in his village, and he was on his way to go searching for his dog in the forest. And he heard a rustling from the trees, and out bounded Tanaku, his dog, who had been in the forest for months on his own, came rushing out into the village, excited to be back and see him. So he no longer had to go out every night calling out for his dog. But to this day, he was out in this forest right here on these hills for so long that there is a stone face, Anahu's face, sitting on this hillside all these years later, calling out across the valley to his dog. And if you come up here on the left, the face is still here. In the rock is Anahu, looking towards the sunrise, calling out for his beloved dog, Tanaka. And that is the legend of Face Rock. Now, if you come to Face Rock yourself, how well you can see the face depends on time of day and how the light is. So right now it's pretty easy to see because the light's coming down from above. During the sunrise, if you're here and the sun's coming up, now it's very cloudy and overcast. Sometimes the light comes in and is dappled. Some of it comes through the trees and some doesn't. And it's a little bit harder to see. And Face Rock now has a little bit of green growing from the side of his nose there. Has a little fern is growing in there. And I really don't know how many people have noticed this before. We noticed it about a year and a half ago when this trail first opened up. And I looked up and I thought, oh my gosh, there's a face in that rock. And it's something I enjoy coming to and seeing. You can see kind of two eyes there, and a nose, and a mouth down there at the bottom. So while I'm here, I want to take the chance to point out what is likely poison ivy. And if you look right there on the trail, like right next to the trail, there are some plants there that have 3 leaves, and all 3 leaves are coming off of the same point of the stem. So there's other plants with leaves that could be 3 like that one, but if you see that one, okay. Ow. Oh my goodness. That branch just came down on me. Oh, my arm is... Ow. Wow. Okay. I said that the legend of Face Rock was just a legend. Yeah, we've been here when it was pretty dark and had lights on our heads, and the lights sometimes kind of went out. We were here once with my friend's dog, and the dog wouldn't go along this trail for some reason. The dog didn't want to go past this, and here I am right now trying to show you poison ivy and not poison ivy. And I don't know if you heard it on the camera, but I heard a cracking sound from above my head, and I quickly kind of moved to the side, and this It doesn't look like much here on the ground, but when this hit my arm just now, it made ouch. So, yeah, I don't believe in stuff like that, but you know what? I'm getting off this trail right now. So anyhow, that was probably completely coincidence. I'm sure of it. So watch out for the poison ivy. And when you're in the woods, you never know when something from up there might come down and fall on you. That's never happened to me. I've been hiking in these woods for over 20 years. And nothing has ever landed on me from the trees. And I'm hiking to Face Rock, and something just did. So I don't know how superstitious you are, but there it is. My legend of Face Rock. Be careful, kids.